Welcome, Anika, from Grüvi. Now, you'll figure out why we're going to talk to her about Grüvi, but first, I just want you to know that it's been a pleasure to meet you. And I discovered you because one of my clients who is a guru in the food business said, you have to meet Anika and give her a little hand. So here's my hand. All right, so here's the question. Why did you decide to do something so unique, which is called non-alcoholic beverages? That's the big question I want to ask you. Now, we also need to know that she's super smart, and we're going to talk about the science. So let's just talk about the fun part. You've won a lot of awards. I want you to spill out the beans because you're female, and I want you to tell us all the awards that Grüvi has won.
Yeah, I mean, I started Grüvi about 5 years ago, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my brother, we wanted to have an alternative, and we kind of started to question our relationship with alcohol. Where does alcohol fit into living a healthier lifestyle, and why is it so normalized into our society? And so with that, we decided that the biggest problem for us was transitioning to less alcohol, was having an option.
Yeah, it's boring, eh?
Yeah, exactly. You were stuck with lackluster options. And so we wanted to challenge the status quo and really bring some excitement to the category. And so that's why we launched Grüvi. We wanted to create something that, first off, like you said, delivers on taste. It's not, a boring option. To have variety so that in any moment you felt like you had a choice for a non-alcoholic option. And lastly, bring some fun and energy to this category that has been around for many years, but has been, very stagnant and underloved. And so I'm proud to say that, in the 5 years.
Yeah, let's just tell me the accolades, because start with the first one, because we don't promote ourselves enough as girls, so go for it. What's the first one?
This past year, we won Best Non-Alcoholic Beer in the World. So out of 130 non-alcoholic options, Grüvi got the gold medal at the World Beer Cup, which was, again, after all this work and really working through the innovation of products and making a lot of headway, it was really awesome to receive that recognition.
All right, and then there's more. Come on.
Well, we've received,
I have notes here.
Okay. We've received multiple awards for both of our wines as well. So again, we're the first company to do beers and wines and have received awards on both sides. Also got Forbes 30 under 30 in 2021. And just recently was selected as an Entrepreneur of the Year for EY finalist.
Great.
This week.
All right, now let's flip to the other side of your brain. The left side. At McGill, you studied neurosciences and psychology.
Yep.
So this is the reason why we want to have a long talk, because there's a dysfunctional relationship really between us and alcohol. Somehow, alcohol is the new cigarettes, and I'm not saying either is any better. Both are horrible, but it's so socialized into our fabric. Why don't we talk a little about the psychology of alcohol, because we're generational, and I can say I could be your mom. So why do we keep getting drunk? Why is it so cool to be drunk?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to take this a little bit from that science background. And so as I actually studied the impacts of alcohol on the brain, I think a piece that stuck out for me was how dopamine, creates this negative feedback loop for us, right? And
so for all the people who don't know what she's just said, dopamine is a neurotransmitter, otherwise known as a brain hormone. Yeah. Which gives you satisfaction, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so when we drink, we release that chemical into our brain. And so that's why when you have, your first, second drink, you're a little more giddy, you're happier, and you're feeling all of these emotions. However, what we don't talk about enough is the opposite. When you stop to drink and you start to sober up, then you've depleted this happiness chemical. And so you often feel the opposite. Yes, exactly. We feel sad.
So if you use the analogy, people say if you eat too much sugar, you get sugar high and then a sugar crash.
Yeah.
So with the alcohol, it's actually not the well, it is alcohol high and alcohol crash, right? But it's the drug, which is the alcohol, that has an impact on the brain, which impacts dopamine.
Yep.
And then we get depressed. and then people get depressed, drink it, and people with chemical depression. It's a vicious cycle that goes down spiraling.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair statement?
100%.
All right. So for me, we know as doctors that drinking increases our risk for liver cirrhosis, fatty liver, makes us fat. But what people don't realize is that generationally, and I can now say this, when I started practicing medicine in 1988, breast cancer was 1 in 10. Then it became 1 in 8, and now it's closer to 1 in 6. And women continually say to me, but how did I get breast cancer? I exercise, I eat healthily, I'm vegan, and then I say, and you drink on a regular basis in the stylistic way of 2 to 3 glasses of wine a night, right?
Yeah.
And then you fry your liver. Now I want to know, how do you really fry your brain with it? How do you fry your brain? I mean, we get breast cancer, we get colon cancer, we get liver disease. How do you fry your brain?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, coming back to that feedback loop for people is the actual impact. Like alcohol, I hate to say it, but if you break it down, it's ethanol, right? And so that is a toxic chemical. When we think of a hangover, it's our body detoxing, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think just creating more conversations around the effects of alcohol, right? We have these new guidelines that we'll
let's talk about those guidelines. I'm going to switch them out here. Okay. So there was a big splash of news and Canada's guidance on alcohol and health, right? We actually met around that time.
Yeah.
And it literally reads like this. I'll read it. No matter where you are on the continuum for your health, less alcohol is better. We agree. There is a continuum of risk associated with weekly alcohol use where the risk of harm is consuming more than 2 standard drinks per occasion. And by the way, what's 2 standard drinks? Tell those people there. What's 2 standard drinks? 5 ounces. Okay? And it's associated with increased harms that we just talked about, and self-harm too, and violence. So 0 drinks per week, obviously, is your best low risk. 2 standard drinks a week, you're slightly going to have some alcohol-related issues. 3 to 6 standard drinks, which is really 1.5 glasses of big-ass wine, is risk around all types of cancer, especially colon, GI cancers, and breast cancer, and to some degree, I would even say all types of cancers. And then 7 or more, heart disease, stroke. So here's the good news. I hear from you that there's a new cohort, Gen Zs, and they're different. So tell me, because this is really, I would say, a problem that I have to deal with my patients every day. It's like, how am I going to drink 2 glasses of wine a week? And I look at them. Why don't you do what you're going to do? But let's talk about the Grüvi group.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about the Gen Zs, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, what is different about this group?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think that, again, they've grown up, especially the younger generation, being more mindful in general about what are we consuming, what are we putting in our bodies in terms of food, and that also comes to what are we drinking, right? And I think the Gen Zs are very experience-based. They still want to have these these moments of celebration, but they want to do it in a healthful way. And so I think it just comes from this mindful approach. And I honestly see it in the younger generation, but it spans across all generations that people are being more mindful about what they are consuming. And 53% of North Americans want to reduce the alcohol that they are drinking, right?
So now this is not dry January. A lot of people know they should cut down on their alcohol.
Yeah.
So how do we change their behavior? Now I want to make you go back to your studies. Give us some tips.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first piece is just encouraging people to actually be curious with their relationship with alcohol. Start to ask yourselves questions. Why am I drinking? You know, am I drinking to fit in? Am I drinking to deal with stressors? How do I feel when I'm drinking? How do I feel the next morning? And when we start to get curious, it's actually, we're able to shift our mind and actually break down some of these habits with curiosity. I also think it's possible to give us a mindset shift, right? People think doing dry January, cutting back on drinking, means I'm losing something, right? And it's like, flip that on its head. What are you gaining by drinking less? I'm gaining better sleep. I'm gaining better skin. I can be more present with my family. The list goes on, and I'm sure you could talk about it for the whole day. And so having this mindset of positivity of what I'm actually gaining is motivating, right? It creates the positive feedback loop for us to keep going on this journey because I'm seeing the positive impacts from it in my life.
So I think one of the ways of doing it is to have non-alcoholic options, as you would say, available. So I have to say that I wouldn't be talking to you if I tried your stuff and it didn't taste good. And then I know, unfortunately, some of my team members are still young and happy and they like to go party. And they literally said that the beer tastes like beer and the wine tastes like wine. Now, I know I'm going to say this, but it's not a grocery store non-alcoholic wine that we, are accustomed to thinking what non-alcoholic options are.
Yeah.
So why does your products taste like alcohol? Feels like it when you smell it, but why? Why is it so good that way? There's a science to how you've created this product.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, so we use a very innovative process in how we make our non-alcoholic drinks. And so typically before Grüvi, there's been two ways of making non-alcoholic. Either you're removing the alcohol or you're stopping the fermentation. And so at Grüvi, we are still brewing a full alcoholic beer or wine, and then we're gently removing the alcohol, but we're also finishing it on a full fermentation. And a fermentation allows you to have those flavors, exactly like you said, the aromas of wine cleans out, especially on the beer side. You're not able to hide any off flavors and give it a very clean, crisp taste. And so, it took some time, a lot of innovation, and we've actually involved our community in our feedback. So we have QR codes on the front of the cans where people can give us their direct feedback and we can take it into our innovation pipeline. But yeah, like I said, that's the biggest hesitation, taste. And so we've made it number one priority and constantly innovating on it. It's never good enough. We can always make it better. And so what you're going to find, we're excited now, we will be on the grocery store shelves.
Okay, well, tell us all the places you can get your product, because I know the last time we talked, you just landed Whole Foods in the US, so another high five for you, girl.
Yes, and I'm excited to share that in Canada, we pretty much can now find Grüvi at all of our major retailers. So we're rolling out Loblaws right now, Longo's, Fortino's, Sobeys. And I think that's a big piece for people to actually bring non-alcoholic into their lifestyle. It needs to be accessible.
Yeah, I see. Bring your own non-alcoholic. So how do you say this?
Yeah, Biona.
Biona.
Instead of BYOB, we say Biona.
Well, say that.
Yeah, BYONA.
Biona.